Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. What an amazing, incredible 4th of July holiday weekend. Seemed to start last Thursday, and I think people are just still trying to get their feet on the ground. With long holidays like that, as I talked about last week, is really hard to kind of wrap your mind around how things are going to go and what the reaction is going to be, what people are going to do. But all things considered, it was, based upon the calls I'm having with the people that I speak to, with the exception of Arizona and the people that I have there, um, everybody else across the country saw really solid activity levels, some, really, really good amounts of contracts falling and new people coming in to get pre-approved, or people who were pre-approved getting property specific updates, or it just seemed like the activity, the conversations, the stuff about buying and selling property, even refinancing activity was incredible. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that 4th of July weekend, a lot of people were out. There were a lot of social gatherings. We talked about this, and the conversation comes around to that, and it just continues to you know show the fact that, with the exception again of the dry spot that I saw in Arizona, where again it was 112, 115 degrees. And I know in Arizona, a lot of people, 4th of July weekend, they get out of Phoenix and Tucson, and either go northern Arizona up to, say, Flagstaff to the mountains, or they go into New Mexico or California and get away from some of the overwhelming heat. But that aside, activity was really strong, and it just goes to show that people who had a holiday plan, people who went out there and engaged, the numbers coming back were obvious. I'm seeing the people that I know were working really good pre-approval numbers, really good pre-approval update numbers, lots of contracts, lots of investigatory conversations. And yeah, while there weren't a lot of referral partners out and about, it goes to show that the number one thing that we can do is engage the public directly. The consumer direct piece of our business is as strong as ever. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are really wanting to engage with other people. I think, between COVID and people working from home, and, shopping online and doing all these other things, I think a large segment of the population really misses engaging with other people, despite what you would think. I think, human beings in general are, social animals. I think they like the idea of the group. And I think, again, with all the social events that were available to people to go and to do, and people are comfortable getting out and about and doing what they could, um, you know, part of the conversation gets up to housing, part of the conversation gets up to with the economy. Not all of it, obviously, but the good part of it, and we've talked about this, your person to person connection skills are your most valuable tool. So I think it's really, great to see a lot of, I don't know, what I was told by some younger people was old fashioned retail sales. Well, if that's the case, then call me old fashioned, but the people who were out there doing retail sales were knocking it out of the park. People were out there connecting with other people, really had solid weeks. Um, and again, as far as what you're going to see from a national standpoint, I get all the conversations about housing market and rates and whatever. And to be honest with you, you've got to get out of that conversation, get out of the pity party, and roll up your sleeves and go to work, because there is business being done, and you can go out there and you can get in front of it, and you can have really solid months. I've got people having absolutely phenomenal Julys and Augusts queued up, and in an industry where a lot of people will tell you that they're struggling to find a deal. Well, you got to get out there and go look, because the phone is not going to ring for you if you're not getting out there and engaging. That said, we've got a lot of economic data that's going to be coming up. This market still refuses to settle a lot of it because of what I've talked about in the past. Is I am 100% convinced that the Treasury Secretary and the members of the Federal Reserve Board, for no reason that I can point my finger to, are determined to continue to raise fear in the public, to ignore the signs, to think that they have something that they need to be doing, other than if anything else, just leave everything alone and shut the hell up. I think if they all went to the university of shut the hell up for the next 90 days, we'd see interest rates in the fives. I think if they went to a pattern of sit in your office and shut the hell up, the markets would stabilize. The markets would look at real-time data and realize that the crap that the Treasury Department and the crap that the Federal Reserve looks at is old news, and their interpretation of that news as it is now, as it's always been, is incorrect. And it's the price we pay. Now, you can't fight the Fed. We're going to deal with their inflammatory conversations about having to continue to raise rates, despite the fact that an eighth grader could go through the numbers and see that inflation is calming down. And when you're going to start looking at year over year numbers, those numbers are going to improve, because we're going to be throwing out a lot of high numbers from the peak of inflation, and it's going to drop. Are we going to be at 2% inflation? No, but we're safely in the fours and heading to the threes in inflation. And there's no reason for them to keep pounding the table and saying we have to go to 5.5 or 6 on the Fed funds rate. It's just absurd. So yeah, we're going to keep putting up with this, but we're going to get some CPI numbers and PPI numbers that are coming in before the next Fed meeting. That may not stop them from raising rates again, but it should. And it should stop the inflammatory speak. It should do a lot of things. And the markets are going to start to look at this and say, we can't fight the Fed. But we're hopeful that the Fed stops fighting, because the Fed is fighting a battle in the wrong direction. And I'm telling you, if they don't stop the nonsense, we're going to go headlong into a recession into the fall. And then they're going to be scrambling to go the other way and figure out how they're going to stimulate the economy. It's absolutely ridiculous. But until then, the rates aren't stopping anybody from buying a house. The activity levels that I'm seeing with the people that are doing actual work, if you're sitting there not getting any business, not because of interest rates, not because of inventory, it's not because of any of that stuff. It's because you're not working. It's because you're not engaging. It's because you're not connecting with people. You're not generating those opportunities that you need to do. And you've got to find people who go out there and do the work, because there is business happening in this market. And the number of people who are in the mortgage business continues to decline, which means there is more business per person for the remainder. And the better people, the people who are working, are picking up the lion's share of that. And the only way you're going to pick up that business is to get out there and do the work. As always, if you're looking for ways to increase your opportunities, if you're looking for ways to get out there and engage, it's Mike at imtcoaching.com. Let's get together. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure this out in your market so that you can go out there and generate the opportunities and do the deals that are out there for you to do, while others sit around hoping that interest rates are going to go back to 3. Again, questions or comments, Mike, imtcoaching.com. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care.